So when folks run for office, they articulate an agenda that they want to enact right off the bat. They put into effect initiatives that set the tone for their entire time in office. But for the man who tonight is expected to officially clinch the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, his first act, should he prevail in November, sound quite a bit different from all of those. In a post on Truth Social last night, Trump wrote this, quote, "My first acts as your next president will be to close the border, drill, baby, drill in all caps, and free the January 6 hostages being wrongfully imprisoned." Let's stop right there and talk about those January 6 insurrectionists and rioters, not hostages, as Trump calls them. On January 6, 2021, there was a deadly insurrection against the United States government. A mob of rioters stormed the Capitol with the explicit goal of stopping an official proceeding that was underway. Men and women charged the building. They smashed windows. They violently attacked and harmed members of law enforcement. They damaged government property. And who can ever forget, they called for the hanging of the Republican then Vice President Mike Pence. These are the people Trump wants to set free.
We have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol! Punch forward!
You back up! I have myself on back.
Those are the people Trump's calling hostages. Now, following that fateful day, the Department of Justice undertook its most sprawling investigation in its history. The department has since charged about 1,300 people for their roles in the deadly attack. Nearly 500 have been sentenced to jail. They are not, to a person, wrongfully imprisoned. They are simply facing the consequences for crimes many of them admit to committing. Defender of the rule of law, Republican Liz Cheney, tweeting this, quote, "If your response to Trump's assault on our democracy is to lie and cover up what he did, to attack the brave men and women who came forward with the truth, and defend the criminals who violently assaulted the Capitol, then you need to rethink whose side you're on. Hint, it is not America's." It's where we start the hour with some of our favorite experts and friends. Former January 6th Select Committee member, Democratic Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren is here with us. She's also a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Also joining us, MSNBC contributor and columnist Charlie Sykes. Andrew Weissman's back with us. Congresswoman Liz Cheney seems to be saying it is un-American to do what Trump did last night on Truth Social. Do you agree?
I sure do. I mean, for a candidate for president to say the first thing he's going to do is to open the prison doors and let a bunch of criminals out, that's pretty shocking. And, you know, these are individuals who have been convicted. Nearly 800 people pled guilty. And how many have been exonerated? Just 3 so far. So the officers they hurt, I mean, like Sergeant Gunnell, who I'm still in touch with, he was injured so severely he had to retire from the force. They tried to gouge out Officer Hodges' eye. They caused Officer Fidel to have a stroke. I mean, this was a vicious, brutal, criminal attack. And they should be held to account. They're not hostages, they're criminals. And they should be in prison where they are.
It's fascinating to watch the echo chamber, right? I mean, Putin says in interviews, including with my own colleague Keir Simmons, that these are political dissidents. He defends the insurrectionists. Tucker Carlson takes up for them. He gets the security footage that was part of the Congressional Select Committee probe that you were on, that you helped lead. And now Trump is calling the insurrectionists, many of whom have pleaded guilty, all but 3 have been convicted by juries of their peers or judges for their crimes that aren't in question. Many of them are on videotape. The effort to rewrite what's true is something that Trump seemed to foreshadow at the beginning of his presidency when he told his supporters, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears, only believe me. How can we have rule of law in this country if that comes to pass, if he's telling his supporters that these are hostages, not insurrectionists?
Well, this is an individual, Mr. Trump, who obviously does not believe in the rule of law, as shown by his own activities that caused the committee to refer him for criminal prosecution, but also defending the vicious assaults that these people engaged in. You know, I guess I'm old-fashioned, but I do think that complying with the law is something that we should expect of each of us, and certainly the people who want to occupy the highest office in the land. That someone would say that the law should be violated, actually is pretty shocking that that person would ask us to trust him to be the chief executive whose charge is to see that the laws are faithfully executed.
I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me if that sneeze comes out. The leaves are starting to bloom in New York City. Congresswoman, I want to ask you what it's like to have put this entire body of evidence before the country through the work of the January 6th Select Committee and watch that person then become the nominee of the Republican Party. Watch people like Mitch McConnell, who at the end of that second impeachment trial basically did what the committee did, referred Trump criminally to DOJ for prosecution for a role that he didn't deny Trump had in 1/6. What is it like to watch all those Republicans fall in line behind Trump's candidacy?
You know, it's pretty sad. Our country is well served when we have two vibrant political parties who can present competing policy agendas for the public to choose. Not well served when one of those parties throws away its principles and just does whatever one man who says he wants to be a dictator on day one, whatever that man wants. It's really pathetic to watch the implosion of the Republican Party. It doesn't help our country.
Let me show all of you what Jon Stewart, who is really rip-roaring out of the gate since he's back in the chair, had to say about this plank of Trump's re-election campaign.
Patriots festooned in American flags, co-signing dictatorship. Remember we the people? You know there's more words after that, right? Smaller font, still binding. Look, if you want to love Trump, love him. Go to the rallies, buy the sneakers. You want to give him absolute power? You want him to be the leader uber alles? You want him to have the right of kings? You do you. But stop framing it as patriotism.
This and the president's State of the Union address and Liz Cheney's tweet made me want to ask you this question. Is it time to reclaim the mantle of patriotism for people who actually believe in those founding documents, the Constitution, the rule of law, the things that are supposed to bind us as citizens?
Absolutely. You can't be patriotic only when your side wins. You can't be patriotic when you use the American flag to attack police officers on January 6th. You can't be patriotic when you say that criminals ought to be let loose out of their prison for the conviction of assaulting officers. That's not patriotism. You know, I'll stand with the Constitution and my adherence to it. I just wish that the Republican nominee had that same passion for our Constitution and for the rule of law. It's not patriotic. It's un-American, actually.